It dulls the senses.
This is gonna hurt you more than it is me.
Oh, goody, goody, here it comes. Oh, my God, don't stop now!
Recognize the man visiting the dentist? The year 1960, and Jack Nicholson was only 23 years old. We'll be surveying the charismatic, so often daring and exciting actor Jack Nicholson on this special edition of At the Movies. I'm Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune. I love that. Don't stop now. He was great then.
And he's great now. I'm Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times. You know, for a long time we've had Humphrey Bogart film festivals, not only of Bogart's good films, but also of his bad films, because even in the bad ones, Bogey had a distinctive personal style and attitude, a way of moving through movie situations that was fun to watch. And Jack Nicholson is the same sort of actor. He grins, and we grin along with him. He gets into a tight spot, and his wisecrack may not change anything, but at least it makes him feel better. Nicholson is one of the most distinctive movie actors of the last 25 years. And on this special show, we're going to take another look at some of his greatest films. Films from Five Easy Pieces to The Last Detail. From Chinatown to Carnal Knowledge. From One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest to Terms of Endearment, and that's quite a list.
You bet.
Gene starts with the one that most people think of when they notice Nicholson for the first time, and that's Easy Rider.
Jack Nicholson was very close to giving up his acting career, actually, when he got the role as a drunken lawyer with a good heart in Easy Rider. He was going to continue writing films, hoping against hope that one day he just might be able to direct one. But acting, he thought, this was it. But then he got his opportunity with Easy Rider, a role that was supposed to have been played by Rip Torn. Nicholson took the small part and became, in the film, our human connection to, frankly, a couple of freakish characters played by Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper. Here's Nicholson's first big scene after he sprung them out of jail. Now remember, he's a lawyer, he likes to drink, and he comes from a well-to-do family down in the South.
How long did you boys say it was going to take you to get down there?
Well, about 2 or 3 days.
2 or 3 days, that right. Oh, boy, I sure wish I was going with you.
Yeah? You got a helmet?
Oh, I've got a helmet. I got a beauty.
If you wanna be a bird.
You know, just the idea that this guy in the suit, the choice of wearing the helmet, the choice of waving the camera. I interviewed Nicholson recently. He told me that that was done simply as part of, they were just running footage, okay? And he was waving at the camera crew. Then when it came time to edit the film, he had a role in the editing of the film. He's more than just an actor. He's a writer, director, and he can edit.
And he put that in.
He put that in because he knew that would make him connect with the audience.
And you know, I remember the first time I saw Easy Rider, when that moment came on, when you saw him in the football helmet, there was explosive laughter in the audience, and if you could pick one instant when an actor became a star, to be that moment.
Yeah, I'll bet. Now, the goofball joy, the unpredictability, the likability, the smarter than he looks, the flouting of authority, all those attitudes are Nicholson trademarks throughout his career, and all those attitudes are contained in just what we saw, that Easy Rider characterization.
And then from there, there would be no stopping him. And at that point, you said he was ready to stop acting, and then that gave him another start. After Easy Rider, people knew who Jack Nicholson was. They knew they liked him. But a lot of actors have had a couple of great scenes in a hit movie. What was amazing was the way Nicholson built on that great early impression in his next movie, Five Easy Pieces. There's one scene in that film that everybody remembers, a scene that probably illustrates Nicholson's screen attitude better than any other single scene he's ever done. It took place in a diner along an interstate highway, a diner in which Nicholson was determined to get precisely what he ordered.
I'd like a plain omelet, no potatoes, tomatoes instead, a cup of coffee, and toast.
No substitution.
What do you mean, you don't have any tomatoes?
Only what's on the menu. You can have a number 2, a plain omelet. It comes with cottage fries and rolls.
Yeah, I know what it comes with, but it's not what I want.
Well, I'll come back when you make up your mind.
Wait a minute. I have made up my mind. I'd like a plain omelet, no potatoes on the plate, a cup of coffee, and a side order of wheat toast.
I'm sorry, we don't have any side orders of toast. I'll give you an English muffin or a coffee roll.
What do you mean you don't make side orders of toast? You make sandwiches, don't you?
Would you like to talk to the manager?
Hey, Mac.
Shut up. You've got bread and a toaster of some kind?
I don't make the rules.
Okay, I'll make it as easy for you as I can. I'd like an omelet, plain, and a chicken salad sandwich on wheat toast. No mayonnaise, no butter, no lettuce, and a cup of coffee.
Number 2, chicken salad sand. Hold the butter, the lettuce, the mayonnaise, and a cup of coffee. Anything else?
Yeah, now all you have to do is hold the chicken, bring me the toast, give me a check for the chicken salad sandwich, and you haven't broken any rules.
You want me to hold the chicken, huh?
I want you to hold it between your knees.
Fabulous. Fabulous.
You know, to this day, when people go into restaurants and they can't get what they want, I think there's a little Jack Nicholson. Bobby Dupuy was the name of the character in all of us. Well, here's what I want you to do.
Yeah, now, but listen to this. Look at the choices he made. First of all, you learn very early on throughout his career, you never say to Jack Nicholson, no substitutions. His whole movie career stands for, there will be substitutions.
Yes, the flag goes up at that, but what do you mean you can't make an exception? What do you mean we can't look at the World Series and run the cuckoos in?
Okay, right. That's number 1. Number 2, look at the way, the level tone that he keeps it at.
That's right.
Many other actors would build their voice. It's level, straight, that's the way he talks. It's straight, no commas. The sentence goes out, it's boom, and it works. He's terrific.
It's one of the great comic scenes, and what's amazing, elsewhere in the movie, he has one of his greatest dramatic scenes, that moment when for the first time he's able to communicate with his invalid father. Coming up next at the movies, a lot of people's favorite Jack Nicholson performance, and it's not even in one of his best-known films.
And you are a bad. I am a badass, ain't I? I'm blowing you off. Yeah, what?
You're a badass.
Oh, what?
A badass!
Oh, what? You ain't leaving DC till you got him out.
1971, Jack Nicholson took one of the biggest risks in his rapidly rising career. Rather than playing it safe, like so many stars who suddenly start getting top billing, and they only play likable characters, Nicholson in 71 played a cruel and hostile and ultimately pathetic character in Carnal Knowledge, who fancies himself quite the Romeo, but winds up being able to relate only at the end of the film to a prostitute. Here's a sad scene where Nicholson's character leads on a model played by Anne Margaret who wants to live with him.
You think it would be a fatal mistake in our lives if we shacked up?
It's very difficult, Bobby. These last couple of weeks, we get along so well together. The idea... I like you very much. So much. This idea... To be perfectly honest, I mean, it sounds very good to me. Let's both give it a couple of days to think about it.
That line, to be perfectly honest, boy, that's always a setup, and he sure let it be a setup in that nice speech. Nicholson played that part so well, it became part of his permanent image as a macho womanizer, and he would pay for that. And I think in a lot of publications, people confused him with that role. More important, though, what's important about this role is that he really risked his likability playing an unlikable character. He was an emerging star, yes, but he was still an actor, choosing juicy, challenging roles.
And I'll tell you the proof of it. I looked at the movie just the other night again on videocassette. Many actors, when they look at a script, say, gee, I can't say that, or I wouldn't like to say that. This screenplay was by Jules Pfeiffer, who specializes in his comic strip in making people look ridiculous by pinpointing exactly how they evade and lie and dissemble and cover up for their weaknesses. He wrote that dialogue. Nicholson reads it. He is like, the character is pinned on the screen like a butterfly, and he did it, and we'll never forget it. It was a big chance, you're right, for an actor to take. In 1974, Nicholson made a film that I think, and a lot of other people do, think is his best performance. I liked it a whole lot. It was called The Last Detail. It told the story of two members of the Shore Patrol who were assigned to take a young naval recruit to the brig. And they started out with a proper military attitude. They're going to take this guy and do the job right. But along the way, they started talking to this kid, and they started to take pity on him. Here's a scene that reminded some people of 5 Easy Pieces. Nicholson is dealing with this kid who faces a long, long term in prison, years and years, and he thinks this kid ought to be able to get his sandwich the way he wants it.
It ain't melted at all. Send it back. It's all right. Send the damn thing back, Meadows. You're paying for it. It's all right. Look, Meadows, have it the way you want it. Waiter! Melt the cheese on this for the chief, would you? Thank you. See, Meadows? It's just as easy to have it the way that you want it.
Have it the way you want it. That's his philosophy in life, and it's the philosophy of a lot of his characters. Nicholson has an air there, a personal attitude that I've always liked in his movies. He may have the uniform on, whatever the uniform is of the character he's playing, even if it's just a 3-piece suit, but somehow he never looks like the kind of man who was born to wear a uniform.
Right.
Nicholson keeps sticking out through that facade. He has a way of tilting his hat back or loosening his tie and confiding in people, sort of appealing to their better nature, saying, sure, this is the law, or this is what the hamburger looks like, or this is what we're supposed to do, or there aren't any exceptions. But just between you and me, Mac, we both know how these situations ought to be handled. We men of the world.
Now, you know what's great here? See, look at, we have the 2 sandwich scenes in his career, and I think it's good that we put them on the show, and I'll tell you why. First of all, we have him standing up for himself, and it's the arrogant, unhappy Bobby Dupuy. Here, a guy who's a tough sailor. Could have been Bobby Dupuy, whose life totally busts out in the enlist.
Right.
Now he's reaching out for someone else. So now we see the extra dimension, the warm dimension, and we see the emerging warm Jack Nicholson turning on with great warmth in this film. Have it the way you want it. I'm doing this for you, kid. Father-son relationship. It's a beautiful relationship, a beautiful movie, a terrific performance.
I think you're right. It is a good movie. Coming up next at the movies, one of the many films where Jack Nicholson has not been afraid to look less than glamorous on the screen.
My goodness, what happened to your nose?
Cut myself shaving.
Huh. Well, you ought to be more careful. That was really smart.
Whittingham and Perry King in
We talked about Jack Nicholson taking risks with outlandish behavior, unlikable roles. He's also taken risks with his physical image, showing his receding hairline in many of his films, showing his pot belly in terms of endearment, fooling around with his upper lip in his latest film, Prizzi's Honor, looking downright stupid in The Fortune and downright scuzzy in Going South. And then there's the detective film Chinatown, where Nicholson, well, what other actor would play a scene opposite the glamorous Faye Dunaway looking like this?
Wait a minute, Sonny. I think you better come with me.
But why? There's nothing more to say. Will you get my car, please?
Okay, go home. But in case you're interested, your husband was murdered. Somebody's been dumping thousands of tons of water from the city's reservoirs, and we're supposed to be in the middle of a drought. He found out about it, and he was killed. There's a waterlogged drunk in the morgue, involuntary manslaughter if anybody wants to take the trouble, which they don't. It seems like half the city is trying to cover it all up, which is fine by me. But Mrs. Mulray, I damn near lost my nose, and I like it. I like breathing through it. And I still think that you're hiding something.
I bet he's on screen for half an hour like that with those bandages on his nose. And I don't know what other actor would do that. You don't find the glamour boys in Hollywood doing it. Only the character actors like Dustin Hoffman, Robert De Niro, Robert Duvall, Gene Hackman. They're the ones who are willing to look ugly for a role. And also Jack Nicholson, the character actor who is a star.
He's willing to take that chance and to let down his obsession with how good he looks or with his ego and so forth. And it's like walking a tightrope. What kind of chances will he take? What is he willing to look like in order to make a role work? And he's willing to look like anything if it'll make a role work. 2 years after Chinatown, in 1976, Nicholson made One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, the picture he won the Academy Award for. And in the movie, he was the guy put into the psychiatric hospital for observation because they suspected that he was sane and only faking insanity to get out of a prison work detail. Here's his famous confrontation with Nurse Ratched, played by Louise Fletcher. Nicholson's been trying to get a majority of his fellow inmates to vote in favor of watching the World Series on TV.
chief voted. Now, will you please turn the television set on?
Mr. McMurphy, the meeting was adjourned and the vote was closed.
But the vote was 10-8. The chief, he's got his hand up. Look.
No, Mr. McMurphy. When the meeting was adjourned, the vote was 9-9.
Oh, come on. You're not going to say that now. You're not going to say that now. You're going to pull that hand out. Now, when the vote the chief just voted, it was 10-9. Now, I want that television set turned on right now.
What you need is a mop. You got to get this technical attention working. Jesuit. Come on. Come on. Come on. No, you have a work assignment.
Kicks. He delivers. It's up the middle of the base hit. Richardson is rounding first. He's going for second. The ball's in the deep right center. Davis is over in the gutter. Cut the ball off. Here comes the throw. Richardson rounding first. He goes to the second. He's high. He's in there. He's safe. It's a double. He's in there, Martini. Look at Richardson on second base. Kovacs is in big trouble. Big trouble, baby. All right. Here's Fresh as the next batter. Fresh looks in. Kovacs. Kovacs gets the sign from Roseboro. He kicks once. He pumps. He fires. It's a strike. Kovacs' curveball is snapping off like a firecracker. All right, here he comes for the next pitch. Fresh swings. It's a long fly ball, and he's left
A career as a play-by-play announcer.
Exactly.
You know
that moment when he says that he gets that glint in his eye and he says, Kovacs, Kovacs, and you realize he's found a way to tell Nurse Ratched to put that chicken salad between her knees. He's found a way here to make that exception. There, every rule has an exception for a Nicholson character. Watching Cuckoo's Nest again the other night, I was struck, by the way, though, that Nicholson showed affection in his performance, because I remembered him in this film from seeing it years ago as sort of a wise guy, an arrogant rebel who's always at war with Nurse Ratched, and he is, but what came through the second time even more was how much he liked the other patients on the ward, how he really came to love those nuts like the chief and Mr. Martini, and how most of his rebellion was really on their behalf.
Yeah, he had been selfish also in his career, trying to get his own sandwich, if you will. Now, later on, as he's moving through his career, he's getting sandwiches for other people. And,
nice.
And we like him for that. He's an ad-libber on his films a lot. He writes a lot of his own dialogue. He came up with that after seeing a baseball score. That's from a World Series game with the Yankees and the Dodgers. Here's Johnny line, the famous line from The Shining. He wrote that line himself. Lots of other stuff.
I think you can, you know, they talk in France about the auteur theory. The director's really the author of the film. He's worked with some great directors. I'm sure they're the authors of his films, but I have a feeling, looking at his whole body of work, he's the co-author of a lot of his films. Picks the character, writes some of the dialogue, as you mentioned, figures out the way to play the guy, so that there is a consistency from film to film.
The great frustration in his career is that he hasn't been able to direct more. He's only directed 2 films.
That's what he'd like to do some now, right?
You bet. Coming up next at the movies, Jack Nicholson's second Oscar-winning performance.
I don't know what else to say except my stock answer.
Which is?
I love you.
What's one of the toughest scenes to play, and many of them will say love scenes in a bed. They get nervous about their bodies, their faces, the size of their noses, but Jack Nicholson has never been better than in his bed scene with Shirley MacLaine in terms of endearment, forgetting his body and just talking about his glory days as an astronaut.
God, I sound like somebody with a big belly telling the stories about Korea. Anyway, this one point, I'm looking out the window, I see a piece of the spacecraft, and it's whistling along the ground. It doesn't make a sound. The only sound you hear, the only noise in the entire world, is your heart beating.
Great use of sound, and also in the beginning when he says, sound like some guy talking about those, you know, with a big belly. You can hear the beer in his voice that made the big belly. Really great use of that voice. The scene proves that when Jack Nicholson wants to be lovable and tender, he can be just that. Prior to Terms of Endearment, he'd been really cruel to women in The Shining and The Postman Always Rings Twice. This time, he opens his heart, slowly, steadily, convincingly. It was a role that would begin to make the one-time seeming woman hater a lovable treasure as an actor.
And it won him his next Oscar for supporting actor. Now we come to Jack Nicholson's latest film, Prizzi's Honor. It's another classic Nicholson performance. Nicholson plays a Brooklyn Mafia hitman who, in this scene, visits the Mafia daughter that he once jilted.
We wasted a lot of time, mate.
4 years. You called that a lot of time. How come you didn't wait till I was 50?
You could have been a fat wop broad by the time you were 50.
You want to do it, Charlie? Is that what you want?
Whoa. Take it easy. What the hell, May?
Some critics haven't liked that Nicholson accent in Prizzi's Honor, the stiff upper lip and the Brooklynese that you could cut with a knife. But I did like it because I thought it showed him taking a chance, not just to create the character, but also to have some fun with the character. And that's a sense you get in almost all of Jack Nicholson's performances, that he's a good actor, but that he's also having fun. And another thing that he did there, he wasn't afraid to play dumb. We were talking about how frequently he appears to be smarter than his character, that there's something going on inside. Here, there's very little going on inside, and that's part of the fun.
Look, what's the theme that runs through all this? Taking chances. With every part of his body, with every voice, with every kind of role. Likeable guys, hateable guys. You mentioned Bogart at the beginning. Let's tie it all back. I predict, you're predicting, I guess, that this guy, 20 years from now, at Harvard Square, where it started with Bogart, they're going to be having Jack Nicholson film festivals.
It may not take 20 years. So much for the Jack of all films. Unfortunately, he won't be appearing in any of next week's movies. We'll be reviewing instead, but these might be good too. Mel Gibson in the third Mad Max film, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, and also Lawrence Kasdan's big-budget, old-fashioned Western, Silverado. That's next time, and until then, we'll see you at the movies.
Diet Shasta gives you 15 great-tasting NutraSweet flavors to savor. Diet Shasta, the one choice that gives you a choice. Raisinets and Goobers are playing everywhere, starring plump, juicy raisins and great golden peanuts. Both now feature creamy Nestle milk chocolate. Cheerios, moms love its low, low sugar, but it's that famous toasted oat taste that made Cheerios #1 with kids. Keyboon Delicacies. From out of the ocean comes a unique blended seafood. New delicacies now in the frozen food section from Keyboon.
First, she learned about life. Now she learns about love. Mayor Winningham and Blythe Danner star in the untold story of Helen Keller, The Miracle Continues. Don't miss it tonight at 8 right here on Channel 11.